The neon glow of a downtown bar cut through the cool night air as the sound of clinking glasses and low conversation filled the room. At a corner table near the back, a group of white bikers, their leather jackets worn and stained with years of riding, laughed boisterously and revved their engines outside. Their eyes, hard and unyielding, scanned the bar and eventually landed on one man whose presence they could not ignore. Marcus Big Mike Johnson, a decorated black veteran in his mid-40s, sat quietly nursing a drink. His salt and pepper hair and the set of his strong jaw spoke of a life shaped by discipline and sacrifice. He wore his military pride openly, a veteran's jacket draped casually over his chair and a few well-earned medals pinned near his heart. His calm gaze, however, was marred by the hostile stares of the bikers who approached with sneers and crude gestures. Without warning, one of the bikers slammed his fist on the bar and shouted, "Hey, what are you doing here, soldier? This isn't your place." His voice, dripping with prejudice and bravado, cut through the ambient noise. The other bikers roared in laughter as they closed in, their intentions clear. They wanted to humiliate the veteran in front of everyone. Marcus's eyes narrowed, and for a split second, the entire bar held its breath. The tension was palpable as the bikers surrounded his table, jeering and hurling racist insults. "You think you're so tough with your medals and your fancy jacket? You don't belong among us," they jeered. The hostile energy built with every word, every sneer, and every derogatory comment. Then, just as the situation teetered on the brink of violence, Marcus slowly set his glass down. His face, once etched with the calm of years of service, now hardened with quiet determination. In a moment that would change the course of the night, he rose from his seat. With the measured poise of a man who had faced far worse on battlefields, Marcus looked each of the enraged bikers in the eye. His next move, calm, deliberate, and entirely unexpected, promised to flip the script on their aggression. Every eye in the bar was fixed on him. What would this veteran, a man who had long borne the scars of war and prejudice alike, do when pushed to his limit? In that charged moment, as the laughter died down and silence descended like a heavy curtain, the stage was set for a dramatic reversal, one that would leave the racist bikers and everyone else in utter disbelief. Before we go any further, subscribe to the channel and comment below where you are watching from. For our returning subscribers, thank you so much for your unwavering support. It truly means a lot to our community. Central to tonight's unfolding drama was Marcus Big Mike Johnson, a man whose life had been forged in the crucible of service. Born and raised in a rough neighborhood, Marcus had enlisted in the military at a young age, seeking structure and the promise of a better future. Over the years, he had risen through the ranks with courage and determination, earning medals for bravery and a reputation for steadfast honor. Now, in his mid-40s, Marcus carried both the physical marks of battle and the emotional weight of experiences that few could understand. His presence exuded an aura of quiet authority. Every wrinkle on his face, every scar on his hands, was a testament to a life lived with purpose and sacrifice. Across town, the scene was set in the Iron Stallion, a popular downtown bar known for its eclectic mix of patrons and vibrant atmosphere. The bar's decor was an intriguing blend of industrial elements and warm, inviting details, exposed brick walls, vintage motorcycle memorabilia, and soft amber lighting that cast long, inviting shadows. On any given night, the bar served as a haven for riders, professionals, and locals looking to unwind after a long day. The clamor of conversation, laughter, and the occasional roar of motorcycle engines from outside all blended into a lively backdrop that spoke of urban freedom and rebellious spirit. Tonight, however, the harmonious buzz of the Iron Stallion was about to be disrupted. The bar was packed, and near the back, a cluster of white bikers had taken their customary spot. These men, rugged and outspoken, were known for their rough edges and an attitude that sometimes veered into arrogance. They prided themselves on their outlaw image, often engaging in rowdy banter and crude jokes. But beneath that tough exterior lay an intolerance that, on this particular night, was about to erupt. It wasn't long before their attention turned to Marcus Johnson. There he was, sitting quietly at a corner table with only his drink for company, a stark contrast to the raucous energy of his surroundings. His veteran's jacket, draped over the back of his chair, and the subtle glint of medals on his chest, marked him as a man of distinction. Yet, to the bikers, his presence was an anomaly, an intrusion into what they believed was their domain. As the night wore on, the contrast between Marcus's composed dignity and the biker's crude bravado became more pronounced. Conversations hushed when his eyes met theirs, and whispers of admiration for his calm strength began to circulate among other patrons. The Iron Stallion had always been a place where differences were part of the charm, but tonight, a deep-seated prejudice was about to challenge that norm. In the background, the bar's vintage speakers played classic rock that once evoked a sense of freedom and rebellion, now serving as an ironic counterpoint to the unfolding conflict. The atmosphere, charged with a blend of camaraderie and tension, set the stage for what was about to become a dramatic clash between the forces of hate and the resilience of a man who had seen the worst of the world, and yet still believed in its possibility for redemption. Little did the bikers know that Marcus was not a man to be trifled with. His life experiences had taught him the true cost of intolerance, and tonight he would show that true strength comes from within, not from the crude bravado of those who choose to hate. As the tension reached its peak and the hostile voices grew louder, the stage was set for a confrontation that would leave everyone in the bar, and perhaps even the bikers themselves, utterly speechless. The moment the bikers' crude taunts escalated into open aggression, the atmosphere in the Iron Stallion shifted palpably. One of the bikers, a burly man with a tattooed arm and a sneer etched on his face, stood up abruptly and swaggered over to Marcus's table. "Hey, old man," he barked, using a slur that reverberated with venom. "You think you can sit here like you own the place?" His voice, rough and dismissive, carried across the room, drawing the attention of every patron. Marcus remained seated for a moment, his eyes calm, but his posture tense, a quiet signal that he would not be easily intimidated. "I'm just enjoying my drink," he replied in a steady, even tone, but his words fell on deaf ears. The biker laughed harshly and, without warning, shoved Marcus's table. Chairs scraped against the worn floor, and glasses trembled on their shelves as the force of the bump sent a shiver through the room. Around them, murmurs began to swell into angry chatter. Other bikers joined in, their voices overlapping in a chorus of disrespectful jeers. "Where'd you get your medals, old-timer? Lost in a war you never fought?" One sneered. "You're just a relic," another added, the words dripping with condescension and bias. The attack was not merely verbal. It was an orchestrated effort to humiliate Marcus in front of everyone. A few patrons, taken aback by the escalating conflict, tried to intervene. A middle-aged woman near the bar raised her voice. "That's enough. Show some respect." But the cacophony of insults drowned out her plea. The bikers, emboldened by their numbers and the crude camaraderie of their group, circled around Marcus, their faces contorted with derision. In the midst of the verbal assault, one particularly aggressive biker lunged forward, aiming to knock Marcus off his chair. The impact sent a tremor through the table, and for a heartbeat, the room was thrown into chaos. Marcus's eyes, though momentarily hurt, burned with an inner fire. Instead of retaliating with brute force, he took a slow, deliberate breath. His military training had taught him that true strength often lay in restraint, and in the ability to turn the tide without violence. As the confrontation escalated, the tension in the bar became unbearable. Shouts mixed with the clamor of overturned chairs and the dull thud of fists against wood. Phones were raised, recording every moment of the altercation. In that chaotic melee, Marcus's quiet resolve became a stark contrast to the loud, hateful jeers of the bikers. A turning point emerged when one of the bikers, in his drunken bravado, attempted to grab Marcus by the collar. In response, Marcus, with a sudden surge of controlled energy, pushed him aside with such force that the man stumbled backward and crashed into a table. The room fell into a stunned silence for a few seconds as the impact reverberated. That single, decisive act of self-defense was enough to arrest the momentum of the harassment, drawing the attention of everyone in the bar. Some of the bikers hesitated, their laughter dying on their lips as they witnessed the unexpected shift in power. "He's not as weak as he looks," one muttered, while others exchanged uncertain glances. The incident had now reached a critical point. The once dominant, hateful energy of the group was beginning to crumble under the weight of Marcus's quiet strength. Amid the escalating conflict, voices began to rise from other corners of the bar. Regular patrons and employees, who had long admired the inclusive atmosphere of the Iron Stallion, now stepped forward to support Marcus. "Back off, you idiots," one man shouted. "This isn't your fight," another added. Their collective protest only deepened the divide, as the hostile group of bikers found themselves increasingly isolated. The internal conflict within the group of bikers soon spilled over into heated debates among themselves. Some, emboldened by the adrenaline of the moment, called for more aggression. Others, clearly uncomfortable with the direction the confrontation was taking, urged restraint. The discord among the bikers only added to the mounting tension in the bar. By the end of the conflict build-up, the altercation had transformed from a series of isolated insults into a full-scale public spectacle. Every whispered comment, every recorded video, and every shared social media post added layers to the narrative, a narrative that now centered on the dignity of a man who refused to be broken, even in the face of crude, racist aggression. The stage was set for the next phase, a dramatic escalation that would force everyone involved to confront the reality that sometimes the greatest power lies in a quiet, determined stand for one's honor. In the aftermath of that decisive moment, as the chaos of the altercation began to settle, the tension in the Iron Stallion soared to new heights. The dramatic clash between Marcus and the bikers had ignited a firestorm that swept across the bar and spilled out onto the streets of Central City. Social media lit up with clips of the confrontation, and hashtags like #RespectOurVeterans and #HonorMarcus began trending, drawing the attention of local news outlets and community activists alike. Inside the bar, the atmosphere was electric with outrage and determination. Management, shocked by the unfolding events, quickly intervened. The owner, Mr. Samuel Reed, a man known for his steadfast commitment to inclusivity, stormed into the bar and demanded that the bikers back off immediately. "This behavior will not be tolerated in my establishment," he declared, his voice ringing with authority. His words cut through the lingering tension, but they also served as a clarion call that echoed through the room, affirming that the values of respect and dignity were non-negotiable. Outside, as rain began to fall lightly on the neon-lit streets, a growing crowd of concerned citizens gathered near the entrance of the Iron Stallion. They chanted slogans against racism and discrimination, their voices blending into a powerful roar that resonated with the spirit of the community. Signs reading "Every Veteran Matters" and "No to Hate" were raised high, and the public outcry reached a fever pitch. Local activists organized impromptu vigils and press conferences, demanding accountability from those who had allowed such hateful behavior to go unchecked. Within the police department, internal discussions about the incident became more urgent. Officers who had witnessed the altercation began filing detailed reports, and whispers of past incidents involving racist harassment by certain groups of bikers started to circulate. The growing body of evidence and public pressure forced the department to initiate an internal investigation into the behavior of the bikers. Rumors spread that some of these individuals had a history of violent conduct and racist behavior, and that this night's events were just the latest manifestation of a deeper, systemic issue. Amid the escalating tension, Marcus Johnson's calm determination became a beacon of hope for many. Despite the pain and the barrage of insults, he continued to stand tall, his eyes reflecting both the hurt of the moment and the resilience honed over years of service. His reputation as a decorated veteran and a man of honor was well known in the community, and his refusal to retaliate with violence only underscored his strength. "I'm not here to fight hate with hate," he said softly to a bystander who approached him. I'm here to stand for what is right." His words resonated, and slowly the tide began to turn. The internal investigation into the bikers' behavior deepened with each passing day. Digital footage from security cameras, social media posts, and eyewitness accounts were all compiled into a comprehensive report. This evidence not only confirmed the aggressive and racist actions of the bikers that night, but also revealed a pattern of behavior that had long been overlooked by the authorities. The investigative team, led by Officer Karen Mitchell, a determined young officer with a reputation for integrity, vowed that those responsible would not escape accountability. As public pressure mounted, local government officials and community leaders began to call for systemic reforms. Town hall meetings and public forums were convened, where citizens demanded that law enforcement agencies take a harder stance on hate crimes and that businesses like the Iron Stallion ensure a safe, inclusive environment for everyone. "We will not stand idly by while racism goes unchecked," declared one passionate community leader during a televised rally. "Our community is strong, and together, we will forge a path toward justice." The digital evidence and the passionate outcry from the community culminated in a dramatic press conference held at a local community center. Senior officials laid out the full scope of the incident, detailing the altercation, the internal investigations, and the mounting evidence of racist behavior among the bikers. The atmosphere was electric, charged with a mixture of indignation and hope. The community's collective voice, amplified by social media and public rallies, had become impossible to ignore. In this heated environment, Marcus Johnson's personal story became a rallying point. Interviews with him revealed a lifetime of sacrifice, struggle, and a steadfast commitment to honor and integrity. His journey, from a young man facing adversity to a decorated veteran and respected community figure, captivated the public and underscored the injustice of the attack against him. Every shared story, every testimonial, served to further unite the community in its demand for accountability and change. By the end of this tumultuous week, Central City stood on the cusp of a dramatic turning point. The relentless public pressure, the mounting internal evidence, and the unyielding spirit of a man who refused to be broken had all converged to demand a decisive response. The rising tension, now at its zenith, promised that the time for a final, transformative moment was near. A moment when the forces of hate would be met head-on with the full power of accountability and justice. The turning point came on a brisk morning in a packed boardroom at Central City's administrative building. Senior executives, legal advisors, community leaders, and members of the media gathered, their eyes fixed on the podium where Senior Manager Carla Ortiz was about to deliver the final resolution of the investigation into the bikers' racist harassment. With a calm yet authoritative tone, Carla began. After an exhaustive review of all digital records, eyewitness testimonies, and internal reports, it is abundantly clear that the actions of the bikers that night were not isolated incidents. They are part of a deeply ingrained pattern of racial aggression that has no place in our community. Her voice resonated through the hushed room, every word measured and weighted with the gravity of the situation. She continued, "Effective immediately, all individuals identified as being involved in the harassment of Mr. Marcus Johnson will face disciplinary action. Their contracts with our establishment are terminated, and they will be held accountable under the full extent of our community's safety laws." As she spoke, a wave of murmurs and nods of approval spread through the room. The decision was a resounding declaration that prejudice would no longer be tolerated. At that moment, Marcus Johnson, who had endured the hateful onslaught with quiet dignity, stood up, his eyes still reflecting the pain of the attack, but now burning with quiet determination, met those of the room. "I have dedicated my life to service and to standing up for what is right," he said in a clear, measured voice. "Today, I stand not as a victim, but as proof that resilience and honor can overcome hate. Let this be a turning point for all of us, a day when we say, 'Enough is enough.'" His words, simple yet powerful, were met with a thunderous round of applause, punctuating the transformative mood in the room. Inspector David Ramirez then stepped forward, unveiling the final dossier, a comprehensive compilation of evidence, including security footage, internal memos, and numerous eyewitness accounts that documented the bikers' aggressive and racist behavior. With each piece of evidence presented, the truth became inescapable. These individuals had not only harassed a black veteran, but had also threatened the very values of decency and respect in our community. The Internal Affairs Panel, unanimous in its decision, confirmed that disciplinary measures were not only necessary, but long overdue. The turning point was complete. The public, the media, and the internal voices of dissent had all converged to deliver a verdict that shook the very foundations of the establishment. In that charged moment, as the weight of accountability pressed down on the guilty parties, the balance of power shifted irrevocably. The once unchallenged authority of the racist bikers was dismantled by the unyielding force of truth and justice. The shock on their faces, captured by every camera in the room, became a lasting symbol of that fateful day, a day when hate was met with decisive retribution and when one man's quiet strength sparked a revolution. For Marcus Johnson, for his family, and for every individual who had suffered from similar injustice, this turning point was not just a punitive measure. It was a profound affirmation that justice would prevail. The decision to terminate the contracts of the offending bikers signaled a new era of accountability and respect, one in which the values of unity and dignity were paramount. In the weeks following the dramatic boardroom verdict, Central City began a slow but determined process of healing. News of the bikers' termination and the internal investigation's findings spread rapidly through local media and social networks. The decision was widely hailed as a turning point, a powerful declaration that racism and hate would no longer be tolerated in any form. Marcus Johnson, though still carrying the physical and emotional scars of that night, emerged as a beacon of resilience and dignity. In community forums, town hall meetings, and interviews with local news, he spoke calmly about the need for unity and the importance of confronting prejudice head-on. "Our strength lies in our ability to rise above hate," he declared in one such forum. His measured words resonated with many, inspiring countless others to stand up against discrimination and demand accountability from those in power. The management of the establishment responsible for the incident, led by Senior Manager Carla Ortiz and overseen by community leaders, wasted no time in implementing sweeping reforms. New training programs on cultural sensitivity, ethical conduct, and conflict de-escalation were introduced across the board. Revised policies ensured that any act of discriminatory behavior would be met with immediate and uncompromising consequences. "We are committed to building an environment where every individual is valued and respected," Ortiz stated at a follow-up press conference. Her words were a promise that the institution would not allow the scars of the past to dictate the future. Local civil rights organizations and community activists joined forces to hold public rallies and educational workshops, emphasizing the importance of accountability and the need for systemic change in all sectors. Banners with slogans such as "Unity over Hate" and "Every Life Matters" were hoisted in public squares, and local politicians pledged to support measures that promoted fairness and inclusivity. The collective determination of the community was palpable, a united front against discrimination that promised to reshape not only the institution involved, but the broader society as well. As part of the resolution, an independent review of the incident was commissioned, and its findings were published in a detailed report. The report not only documented the sequence of events and the actions of the bikers, but also provided recommendations for preventing similar incidents in the future. It became a blueprint for reform, inspiring other institutions across the city to re-examine their own policies and practices regarding discrimination. In one final, symbolic public gathering held in the plaza outside City Hall, Lieutenant Marcus Daniels addressed a diverse crowd. "Today, we have witnessed that when we stand together, no act of hate can go unchallenged," he declared. "Let us move forward with the knowledge that every individual, regardless of their background, deserves respect and dignity. Our community is stronger when we unite in our commitment to justice." His words, delivered with passion and hope, were met with resounding applause, a testament to the community's belief in a better, more inclusive future. As Central City gradually returned to its daily rhythm, the legacy of that fateful night endured as a beacon of hope and transformation. The pain and outrage that had once filled the air had given way to a renewed commitment to accountability and reform. The dramatic actions taken that night, rooted in the strength of one man and the collective outcry of a community, had set in motion a change that promised to endure for generations. In the end, the story of that night was not merely about an act of racial violence. It was a powerful reminder that justice, when pursued with unwavering determination, has the power to shatter even the most deeply entrenched prejudices. Central City emerged stronger, its people more united, and its institutions forever changed by the courage and resilience of those who refused to stand by in the face of injustice.